Hello, boys and girls. It's when we feel like 8 o'clock. And I'm Pearl of Wisdom. You're listening to my NHL Pearls of Wisdom. Of course, everybody in the land knows that now. Especially, first of all, let me tell you what I'm going to be talking about today. We all know about the draft lottery, and it just happened, right? Everybody in the land knows. I was out in Banff with my wife for 3 days. Haven't been able to do a video on it, but I've been on the edge of my seat. Trying to figure out what I'm going to... Okay, so what I decided to do. First of all, let's look at the lottery itself. LA, of course, has the second pick. Ottawa gets the third. Detroit gets the fourth. I'm going to do a simulation here in a little while, and I got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about with that. But first, what I decided to do, what I think it'd be cool, is if we looked at who that number one pick would go to, because we know that it's going to go to, it's in the ether. Nobody knows what happened because it's going to somebody that's in the play-in round. Now, I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, but if there was ever a conspiracy to be had, leaving this number one overall pick to go out into this nobody knows zone, and then do another draft after, which I believe everybody that doesn't win in the play-in round, that leaves 8 teams, gets 12 point something % chance of winning that, which to me is freaking insane. I understand why they did it all. I'm not going to debate on whether it was the right way to go. All I know is it's pretty exciting, and it's going to pay off pretty darn nicely for the NHL when they do this. So, with all that in mind, I thought it would be some wonderful frolic if we decided to look at every single team that could win and how it would affect them if they won. I'm going to start off with the West teams today. Then I'm going to do a video for the East teams. Then I'm going to do a video for the draft and what each team might pick. But first of all, Mr. Christian Anderson. I had Helen grind up some pearls, because Christian has been bullish on the comment section, and he's been asking a tons of questions and commenting a lot about everything. And he's got a hockey card thing going on too. You might want to go down there if you're into hockey cards and talk to Mr. Christian Anderson. But I'm going to I got these are some heavy duty level pearls for you, Mr. Christian Anderson. Wow. There you go. They're gold-plated. Yeah, I don't know how they float like that either, but they do. There they go. Where do you live? Christian Anderson. Tell me where you live. That looks like Indiana or something. I don't know. Anyways, there you go. And then, of course, we also have the... Helen is also sewing together the Pearls of Wisdom necklaces that we send out to all our subscribers and bell people that touch the subscribe and the bell and subscribe to the channel, that we send out with the Perlocopter with Melissa and Hernandez. Yes, off you go, Melissa. Thank you. Okay, take care. And she's going on the Perlocopter right now, sending all the goodies to all the people in the land. The My NHL Pearls of Wisdom necklace, the much sought after. So there we go. Hit that subscribe. Get the swag. Off now we go to the land of what happens when Lafreniere goes to each individual team in the West. So let's say the Chicago Blackhawks lose to the Edmonton Oilers, which you can go to my video. I have a prediction on all of that, which you might find lovely. So let's say that happens. So Chicago, well, for one thing, Chicago's in a place right now where it's a tough place. It certainly is. Jonathan Toews, of the 32 years old, has looked like he's been on the downswing for quite a while longer than I think they anticipated. Still awesome two-way center, but the window is closing a little bit for the Chicago Blackhawks, to say the least. You got Jonathan Toews. Patrick Kane's 31. He's probably going to be good for quite a while. Still a little more, but he's still 31. It's all starting to get right about there on the hill. You could do my head. Right about there. Okay, so he's going on the downside. They have given up a lot. They've given a lot in contracts, and Duncan Keith, that's well known about. Taves and Kane alone are $20 million. Duncan Keith is not bad at $5 million in some now, but he's all of that right now in this stage of his career. They could use a heck of a lot of cap room, and they're heading towards a possible rebuild if they don't have some stuff happening. And getting Lafreniere would certainly help that a lot. It would be huge for Chicago, even though it's not the position that they absolutely need, because DeBrincat could play that side. You could play him on the right. You could play Jonathan Taves there in the middle, and then try Lafreniere in the top line. I don't know if you want to do that first starting out, but from what I understand, Lafreniere is like a Rantanen. So somewhere down the road, that's going to look like one pretty line. And I hear that he's probably a 40-point player right out of the box. So I'm thinking more like a second liner. In which case you'll have, let's say you put DeBrincat, Nylander up there. Nylander needs to have a good year. Or Dominic Kubalik. See, the left is not really needed. I put Dominic Kubalik up there. Then on the second line, you would put Lafreniere, Strome, and Kane. See, now we're talking about a pretty decent second line. This would be huge for Chicago. This would give them an opportunity to give them a couple years to rebuild around somebody as Taves and Kane and Keith start to work their way out. They can, do something with Brent Seabrook. You still got Andrew Shaw, who's got some legs there. This could put them in cup contender status. This would be huge. And it would be great for Lafreniere, too, because he wouldn't have to go on a completely rebuilding team. He wouldn't have to be a top-line player on a team with a bunch of young players. He'd be able to feed off of guys like Jonathan Taves and the like. So I don't mind this happening for Chicago. It would be enormous for them right now. It would be, to all the teams, it's going to be enormous. But right now for them, they're right on the precipice of maybe having to do a fair bit rebuild. This may change that. They may be able to do a transition without a rebuild at all. Now, the Arizona Coyotes. Well, honestly, for Lafreniere's sake, I would almost hope he doesn't go here. Even with him, it's going to be tough. This team is capped out. They're going to need... For the city, it would be enormous. He could almost be a savior for this organization. They are close to being out of it. I don't like their lineup really at all. Their number one center is Christian Dvorak. They're not probably going to be able to sign Taylor Hall. I really don't think so. So if you put Lafreniere in here, put Connor Garland up at the top, and you've got Garland, Dvorak, Keller, Lafreniere, Derek Stepan, and Hinostroza. But you can maybe go out in free agency or make a trade for a player, maybe not Hall-like, Phil Kessel, Schmaltz, and Soderberg. Soderberg's probably gone. You just might be able to get some players and get some depth in this organization, maybe get them close to a playoff position, because you've got Kemper and Ranta, and that's what it comes down to. It would be huge for the organization. I don't know. I don't want a Lafreniere to have to go to a situation like that. But all things being said, for the league, it's probably huge. We need Arizona to do well. We need organizations that are not hockey markets to do well. And this would certainly get them to the point where they're headed in that right direction. They have Barrett Heighton coming up. He looks like he's going to be a good player. He's only 20 years old. They have some Braden Burke and a couple young players that might be able to make a push next year, but it's not looking completely rosy. Anyways, it would be huge for the organization, though. Absolutely enormous. Now, the Edmonton Oilers. Do I need to talk here? If the Edmonton Oilers win this, it'd be stupid. If the Edmonton Oilers win this, they'd have to lose to Chicago, which I don't think is going to happen. But if by chance they did lose to Chicago and they got Lafreniere, first of all, the whole league would lose their shit. How many first overalls have they got? It would be crazy. Draisaitl, McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, all high first-round picks, and two of those being picks that they got because of a draft lottery, and now they got this one too. It would put them in contender status immediately. Immediately. Putting that kind of a left winger with Yamamoto, their offense would be just great. They have a good enough defense, and it would put them in cup contender status almost immediately. Certainly next year, it would solve their cap problems for a little while. I don't know how they'd re-sign him in a couple of years, but for now, it would be insane, and it almost wouldn't be right. It almost wouldn't be right. I think a lot of people out there would say that it would not be right at all. The Nashville Predators would be the next one, and they are going to be playing said Arizona Coyotes. I had Arizona winning simply because of the goaltending. I really think Kemper can win it all by himself. In which case, Arizona wouldn't need to get much offense. I didn't get into that, but I think they actually could make the playoffs if Lafreniere is there, which would be good for them. For Nashville, I don't know why I don't want them to go here. I think it's just because the chemistry hasn't been very good. But for them, a Rantanen-type player on the left side, which they don't really need a lefty. They have Philip Forsberg and they have Victor Arvidsson. But they don't have much in their system coming up that screams gonna play next year. So they're not really getting old, but they're not getting any younger either because they do not have much youth coming up. For the organization, of course, anybody getting Lafreniere would be great. The thing I'm a little concerned about him going to Nashville is more for Lafreniere's purposes. There's not really a spot for him. I think he could kind of get lost a little bit. He's so good that it might really just be that a guy like Victor Arvidsson could get traded or something of that nature, or they play him on the left side. It would be big. I don't know. It just seems like a vanilla place for him to go. You know what vanilla means? It's like, no, not much flavor. It's not sexy. Going to Nashville would not be a sexy place for him to go. That's all I got to say about that. The Calgary Flames. Well, this would be interesting. If he went to Calgary, I would say, and there's been a lot of rumors, boys and girls, that, what the heck's going on with there's been a lot of rumors going around that Gaudreau could be on his way out of Calgary. It's getting louder and louder. When I first heard them, I was like, fuck. But it's getting louder and louder out there. It's starting to be that it's a big possibility. If Calgary were to win this, I think he'd be gone. They could trade Gaudreau. Lafreniere is more the type of player that that defines the Calgary organization, or at least they like to think so. Anyways, you'd have Matthew Tkachuk and Lafreniere, and with Monahan and Lindholm, Tkachuk with Backlund and Mangiapane, you could fill in a spot for that. You trade Johnny Gaudreau and you get another righty from, say, New Jersey, who the talk has been, or the Rangers have been a possibility. I did a video on where Gaudreau might go. Buffalo Sabres possibly. Fill out that right side with whoever you get back. And now you've got a top six that's pretty incredible, although I still say weak up the middle. We don't like to be weak up the middle now, boys and girls, do we? In hockey or life. So watch out for that. Anyways, it would be huge for this organization, and I think it would be the end of Johnny Gaudreau. So would I want Lafreniere to go there? I suppose. I mean, it would be tough if Gaudreau did go, because now you're putting that pressure on a guy like Lafreniere to live up to Gaudreau's status. So maybe I wouldn't want him to go there. I don't like to put that kind of pressure on a kid. He may be so good that it wouldn't matter anyways. But I'd get to watch lots of him because I live in the Alberta area, so that would be cool. So for selfish purposes, I would say not a bad idea. The Vancouver Canucks do not have a first overall pick, and this would end up going to New Jersey. I'll tell you, they traded this away for JT Miller. And if they were to fluke out the fact that they lost Lafreniere because of it, I don't think they would matter, because it still was a really good trade. Who would have thunk that all this would have happened? I'll talk about how it affects New Jersey in my next episode, boys and girls. So that leaves one left. I hope I got them all in here. Leaves the Winnipeg Jets. If the Winnipeg Jets won, this is one place where I don't think I'd want them to go. And there's several reasons for that. I've talked about it several times. I don't like the way they've treated their young players, and it's come back to bite them in the ass with Trouba. They have, I don't know if it's an ownership thing or if it's a shovel day off thing or a combination. They played their players, like for instance Patrick Laine, low down in the lineup, didn't let them fly, and it seemed like, and Trouba too, and they seemed to do it so they could get a lower salary for those players. I could be completely wrong about that, just maybe bringing the kids along. But from what I saw, both Trouba and Laine were better than the people they're playing above them. And it seemed spurious to me. It seemed really odd. But how would it affect them? They have Nikolai Ehlers and Kyle Connor there already. Ehlers can play right wing, though. They could push him over to the right. And then you'd have... they got to do something with their second line center, which I would say put Jack Roslovic there. They'd have Roslovic, Laine, and or Ehlers and Lafreniere. Not a bad second line. It would certainly boost their second line. But really what they need is huge. They need defense huge. Also, they'd have to lose to Calgary. I don't think Winnipeg's going to lose to Calgary. I picked them to win that, but it would be enormous, like any other team. I really think that it's possible Lafreniere would have a tougher time finding his way in Winnipeg because of that, and the way they've treated their young players. I really would not want him to go there. If they went there, what would it mean to the organization? It would be huge. It would put them again in huge contender status. Giving them a solid player like that with no cap space hardly at all on a lineup that already has Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler and Ehlers and Laine, Jack Roslovic, and they could still add to their defense with Holobeck and net, cup contender, and a greater cup contender yet. It would be enormous for them. But honestly, I don't really like the idea of him going there. Well, that's my full 42%, boys and girls. That's what I have to. I'm going to do my East one next. And we'll see how it'll affect the organization if they were to win. There's a couple interesting ones there we're going to deal with, like the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's been a buzz for quite a while. Until then, boys and girls, hit yourself some subscribe and bell and all of that. And have yourself a lovely day. Take care. Lots of love to you.